Western Spring Television. Ours it is.
Arise and shine, 8 at the dawn of a new day. Good morning, Nigeria. You're welcome to this week edition. By the way, when I mean this week, today's edition, the first one for this new week. Morning Spring is the program. Western Spring is the station. And of course, I am Femi Ojo. This is where we look at very critical and topical issues in the nation. Issues that has to do with you, the distinguished viewers, our distinguished viewers, looking into matters that has to do with issues of public importance. That's what we do here every weekday at this time on Western Spring, channel 190 on Star Times, TTT, and also online as well. I mean on YouTube at Western Spring Television. Thank you for being part of our program last week, but then this is a new one, and today's edition promises to be very, very exciting. I'm not here alone. Evelyn is there. Good morning, Evelyn.
Good morning, Femi. How do you do today?
Great.
And how was the weekend?
Pleasant. We are here.
Good morning, Nigeria. Thank you for joining us for the very first installment of Morning Spring. My name is Evelyn Ohiolei. We appreciate you all of the time. Like I was asking Femi how his weekend was. For many people in Nigeria.
How was yours?
It was restful. I had a very restful weekend. I had time to actually rest well.
That's good to know.
That's why I'm back here full of vigor and energy to take on the week.
Yeah.
And back to how the weekend was for so many Nigerians. It was a bit disappointing on different fronts, generally security-wise, and of course in sports.
That's right.
A lot of people were disappointed at the debut match of the Super Eagles at the Africa Cup of Nations 2023 that actually took place yesterday. It was a bit disappointing for them. Femi.
Yeah, 1-1 draw where Nigeria could have maybe went away with like almost 4 goals. You know, there are chances that were created that were, not talked away by these guys. But then, as they say, we go again.
We'll go again.
On Thursday, Nigeria will be playing against the host country, and that's going to be a very big one.
Tough.
Yeah, a tough one. But by the way, away from the sporting scene, many things. And let's say today is Armed Forces Remembrance Day as well. Every 15th of January, the nation comes together and, is to conduct annually and commemorate the unwavering commitment and heroism demonstrated by our nation's servicemen and women and in various military operations. The CDS, when I was talking, said this day holds great significance, and it provides us the opportunity to reflect on the sacrifices, bravery and commitment of the fallen heroes in defending the territorial integrity of the nation. Armed Forces Remembrance Day, just like I celebrated every 15th of January to honor the servicemen and veterans of the Nigerian Army.
Yes, these ones have been able to sacrifice their lives, and some on the way, paid the ultimate price.
Yeah.
They left the riches in the city. They left all the pleasures of the city, and they're protecting our borders.
Yeah, to make sure you are fine.
Protecting the nation, to ensure that we are fine. They really are to be celebrated every day, but this day that we have set aside to celebrate them is also good, and we hope that they continue to gallantly fight for the peace of the nation, for the stability of the nation, and we hope that they are also adequately compensated for the things that they do, because sometimes when you go to the barracks and you check out the welfare of the soldiers, it's an eyesore. You want to ask yourself, why should people sacrificing so much be staying in such an environment with their families?
That's right.
It's really, really sad, and I hope that the government can pay attention to these ones, because it is someone that is motivated, that will want to get on the field and, you know, be willing to sacrifice his life on the line. So I hope this is actually corrected, and the people at the Hem of Affairs do what is necessary for these gallant soldiers. Yes,
in the course of today, expectedly, the president, state governors, you know, top guns at different states will lay a wreath on the tomb, you know, of the fallen heroes, to say, you guys are not forgotten. And, you know, from all of us here, we celebrate the veterans as well. Thank you for what you've done. And those that are still in service, we are supporting you as well. We're rooting for you to please keep doing what you are supposed to do within the confines of our laws. And by the way, quickly, before we go to the papers, you know, just like you said, it was a very eventful weekend. And quickly, the NSIPA, that's the Social Investment Program, in which people at the end of it are being questioned right now, including the ministry, the government. Is no money that he has suspended it for a while, and then institute a committee, a 6-member committee headed by Ali Pate, the Minister of Education. It has Bosun Tijani, Minister of Digital Innovations, and I think Wale Edun is there as well, Coordinating Minister of Economy, and other people. But that's not it. The news says all of these people are men, 6 of them. And I was thinking, why is there no women around? I mean, you know, among the, you're already giggling, by the way.
I think that's
why don't you have a woman among them? 6-member committee. And I was now saying, you know what? Maybe, you know, your guess is as good as mine.
I personally think it's just a mere coincidence.
Maybe because
really.
All these people involved in the past 1 week are females, you know what? Maybe, because I wonder why.
I don't think so. I think it's just a mere coincidence.
Coincidence. 6-member panel,
just
all
a mere
men.
Coincidence, because although probably we should have had maybe the Minister of Women Affairs there, but then for me, I don't want to read a deeper meaning to it. Okay. So maybe it's just a mere coincidence, and I think people should cut women some slack. I've been hearing a whole lot of people on social media say, oh, we are always told to give women a chance. We're always told to bring women into governance and all of that. Look at what happened. Women were brought into governance, and look at how much they've been able to embezzle and all of that. And I ask people, this is not, time and time again, we've had men embezzle money. We've had men in fraud cases. Currently, we have lots of men that are being probed, petitioned for several fraud cases. We don't bring in such energy like we do when a woman is caught, you know, in such
that's right.
In such acts.
And these same men are still in position.
They are still in position. So I think they should cut some women some slack. I mean, it's just 1 woman or 2 or 3 women out of several that are doing so much. So I don't think
more of a human flaw. Not a gender flaw.
Not a gender flaw. I don't know. I don't understand.
I agree with you.
It's just a way, I just see it a way of actually attacking the women folks so that they are no longer given positions of
just the behavior of so few people.
Just a few.
And by the way, so stated there are women who are high flyers doing extremely well in their endeavors as well. Quickly, we'll go to the papers now, but I'm not sure it will be right without talking about the NPFP PRO, Public Relations Officer, Mr. Ohiolei Adebayo. He had quite a time at the weekend. It was a booze moment. He
decided not to grieve for anybody.
He was, he went out all ballistic, and it stemmed from the fact that people called the NPF to question, and then they, tagged him, told him to do what is necessary in that sad case of the kidnap of sisters, 5 or 6 of them now, in which we are hearing one of them has died. But then it sends shivers through one's spines to know that even at the FCT, Evelyn, these things are still happening. But then maybe if time permits, so we'll get to look into that. But, about some of the things he said, the way he answered people, maybe tomorrow on your subsequent program as well. We'll go on this program, and then we'll be back with the headlines. Stay with us. All right, we independently go and start, by the way, with Daily Independent today on the newspaper headlines. Experts question CBN sack of bank boards and management. With a rider ask Apex Bank governor to explain details for action. All right, Shetima leads Nigeria's delegation to World Economic Forum in Davos. Davos is in Switzerland. All the best to Mr. Vice President. And of course, you have the picture there of the commemoration of the Armed Forces Remembrance Day. The service held yesterday. Moving on, my commitment to sustainable development in Niger Delta on course. Tinubu and APC vows to win Edo, Ondo, Anambra of season Guba pose. Still on Edo Guba, how Igodalo emerged Edo Central PDP sole aspirant by Tommy Kimi. 2024 budget, NIMET to spend 644.2 million on fumigation, stationaries, and computers. Page 29 has this one, captain of arrested vessel names collaborator in alleged illegal bunkering activity. Top strip, Serap threatens to sue NAS over his 344.48 billion 2024 budget. And CUPP urges constitutional amendment wants all election cases to end at Supreme Court. And bottom strip in red here, remain resolute in defeating insecurity. CDS charges troops. That will be all from the front page of the Daily Independent for today.
All right, we'll move straight to the Daily Trust newspaper for today. Let's see what news making waves on the Daily Trust newspaper for today. And the big one here, bandits hold 5 sisters after killing one in Abuja. It's a very sad news there on Daily Trust that has actually elicited a lot of controversy on social media. And we have quadruple riders here. Demand 100 million naira. Pantami's friend raises 50 million naira. 4 other captives killed in Kaduna. Ilorin Union urges FG to rescue abductees. We have intensified rescue operations, says police. And of course, when the former minister, Isa Pantami, actually gave that announcement yesterday that he is not in any way supporting ransom payment, but then because of the peculiarity and the urgency of the matter, his hands are tied, and you know, his friend, one of his friends rather, has been able to say he would donate 50 million naira to this cause. And when he said that, there were lots of reactions on social media, especially to that particular tweet, asking him, so what was the essence of the NIN, BVN, linking and all of that? Nigerians had to queue under the sun, in the rain and all of that, waste their time. If this cannot be used at this time, 50 million naira cash. Is it that it's going to be transferred? Is it that it's going to be taking their cash? Is it that we cannot track these kidnappers? By
virtue of what we know, those guys don't collect transfer. They take cash.
If a former minister at this time can be able to throw in the towel and say, you know what, let's just pay this ransom and get this,
like that's the only
this girl's way, then it speaks to how alarming it is for us as a country. Is our state being run by these non-state actors, by these kidnappers? Do they call the shots?
Helpless.
Do they call the shots? We're helpless. So I think the federal government needs to actually, especially the minister of the FCT, he should sever himself from whatever distractions in River State and focus on the FCT. The president also is the CNC, should ensure that all hands are on deck. The IGP, this is not good for
just
our
in
country.
the FCT.
It's not a good PR for our nation at all. It's not. But we hope that things can be done properly. All we want right now is actually for the girls to return home safe, because Najiba, according to the cousin who came on X, said you know, she had been killed. So we still have 5 sisters in the den of those kidnappers.
And many others as well that have been abducted. These possibly make the news because it happened in the FCT. There are many people still in the captivities of the criminals.
Wow. We hope they are brought home safe.
Yeah.
Away from that, airlines trapped funds, pressure mounts despite $61 million release. 100 days of war on Gaza. Israel kills 23,968 Palestinians. Amazing, but it should be said that this is actually both ways. Both parties have actually lost people, both soldiers and civilians. Away from that, the Super Eagles avoid upset against Equatorial Guinea. ACF, NAF meets over North challenges, and FCT primary school teachers begin strike today. The FCT again. That will be all for Daily Trust newspaper for today.
All right, we head straight to the Nation newspaper for today. Supreme Court verdict: APC didn't trade off Kano and Plateau. Riders says it's purely a legal matter. Victorious governors hail Tinubu's non-interference. There is a quote there. If there is a suspicion of interference in the arm of government, Friday's ruling and exposition on the part of the judiciary also did show that they are essentially independent. All right, moving on. Government to change approach on discourse funding. Electricity distributors failed to pay dividend in 12 years. Why? That's on page 4 of the Nation. An illegal oil bunkering vessel, MT Kali, impounded by a combined team of personnel of Tantita Security Services Limited, TSSL, and men of the Niger Security and Civil Defense Corps NSCDC at Pennington Oilfield in Bayelsa State on Thursday. Bottom strip, LIRS farms January 31 deadline for annual tax return submission. Moving on, President gets kudos for anti-graft moves. Hanese youths made 2 OK action, and another one says, don't give better ado media trial. All right, top strip, wasteful Eagles failed to win AFCON opener. Shocker for Ghana and Egypt. And moving on, food forex pressures push inflation to 29%. Expert hopeful on recovery. And lastly, Dow 2024. APC invite Ohiolei, Izeyamu, others with a rider Ikimi. We are with Igodalo. That and okay, there is this one. President won't spare corporates after probe into humanitarian affairs ministry. That's all on the front page of the Nation.
Let's check out what we have on the Punch newspaper for today. 7 major marketers get approval to sell Dangote fuel. Double riders here, NNPC retail, total, MRS, others make list, await commercial terms. Ipman, Petron to meet Dangote refinery this week. Eye marketing deals. Passengers stranded as BRT drivers down tools overpay. Ex-minister's friend offers to pay 50 million naira for abducted Abuja girls. The story is on page 4 and 5 of the Punch newspaper for today. And of course, we have that big picture there on the Punch newspaper. Talk about the Kano governor's victory at the Supreme Court. That's Governor Abba Yusuf there with lots of supporters on the red cabs celebrating his victory at the Supreme Court after he lost twice at both the tribunal and the appeals court. Away from that, EFCC says Nigerians want ex-governors to account for 772 billion naira. And policemen not permitted to search citizens' phones, says Lagos CP. Femi, how many times will this particular order or instruction be given? A whole lot of times we've heard the IGP say it, we've heard the CP say it, we've had the police PRO say it, but still, you still find errand officers still on the streets telling people, telling boys, telling girls to open up their phones that they want to search. Yeah. This is invasion of privacy, and like it has been said, for the umpteenth time, policemen are not permitted to search citizens' phones. But then people will say, when you're in front of an armed man, you have to give him all that he wants, because then you can fight for your rights later. Because if at the end of the day he fires a shot, you die, it's gone.
That life is gone.
It's gone. It's final. It's gone.
The first stories that tell.
Exactly. So, yes, it's not right, but still, you can use your discretion when an agitated officer is telling you to open your phone. Away from that, Tinubu's trips gulped 3.4 billion naira in 6 months. This is according to Gulf Spend. You can get more of those details on page 7 of the Punch newspaper for today, and that will be all from the Punch.
All right, and lastly on the Vanguard newspaper for today, manufacturers threatened as CRR rises for 5.5% to 13.81 trillion naira. Riders trend threatens banks intermediary role, analyst, and companies' access to credit curbed as cost of money rises. And of course, you have the impounded vessel there. And a couple of stories here. Catholic bishops decry high-level corruption in Nigeria. On Remembrance Day, governors drum support for armed forces, families of fallen heroes. Supreme Court verdict, we didn't trade off Kano, APC. And one of abducted 6 sisters dies in captivity. Sad one. With a rider that says armed men abducted 45 passengers in 3 commercial buses in Benue. How? Just how? Tough Strip has this story. Nigeria can't make progress without true federalism. Obongata. Ohaneze youths praised Tinubu, flame media trial of Beta Edu. And on the sporting scene, Nigeria 1, Equatorial Guinea 1. Westeraf, Nwanu in shock, asks many questions about Eagles. And of course, you have the picture there of Abba Yusuf, known as Abba Gidagida, the governor of Kano State, being cheered on by supporters while he was returning to Kano yesterday. Victory parade, by the way, as they say, victory is sweet. That's it. And before we go, Mr. and Mrs., come on. This is coming from Mrs. Come on, don't tell me that men lust after them, even on screen. So why can't you marry an actress? Okay, and the response is, if I catch her, okay, kissing a guy, all she needs to do is to tell me they are rehearsing and there is nothing I can do about it. Interesting one there. So much for actors and actresses doing what they have to do. And this is where we take a break on this segment, and we'll go on this break. And when we come back, we'll be talking rule of law, talking about the judiciary, and of course what transpired, the Kano, the jurisprudence that followed the election of Governor Abba Gidagida, Abba Yusuf rather, known as Abba Gidagida in Kano State, and especially what happened in Plateau as well. The details of all these and the conversation will continue, but that will be after this break. We'll be back. All right, you're welcome back. And the conversation is about the rule of law, about the Constitution, about the judiciary, essentially, and what they do. By the way, they are an independent arm of the government. We have the executive, the legislature, and of course the judiciary, thought and known by our laws to be very independent, by the way. But then they adjudicate on matters, tribunals, appeals, even to the Supreme Court as well. Now, coming at the heels of what we witnessed last Friday, where the governor of Plateau State, there are many cases, by the way, from Lagos State to Akwa Ibom to every other state, to Cross Rivers, Plateau and Kano. Many of these cases, all of these cases have been settled, but then many of them are quite outstanding in a kind of way, in a manner of speaking, especially what happened in Plateau, where the tribunal sacked some members of, some lawmakers rather, from the State House of Assembly, even at the federal level as well. And then the appeal court held that decision, upheld the decision of the tribunal to say the primaries that produced them were not duly done. Intra-party affairs, by the way. But when it got to the Supreme Court threw that away and said this is pre-election matters are not to be determined after the election. That's number one. And number two, if you're not in that party, you don't have the right to sue, because that would be like a meddlesome interloper. And so threw away the decisions of the tribunal and the appeal court and said Governor Caleb Mutfwang, still remains the governor of Plateau State, duly elected. And that has been given to controversy to say this is the same thing that sacked all these lawmakers from the state to the federal levels. And because by our laws, their case cannot get to the Supreme Court, it terminates at the appeal court. They are remain sacked and is looking unjust. So looking at these, so many persons have been talking about the judiciary to say what's really going on. Why having conflicting judgment? There are precedents, by the way. There are precedents to these cases that is not new, plethora of cases, and even the Supreme Court said it. Anything that is interparty affairs, other people that are not members of that party do not have the right to file, or to sue, because it doesn't have to do with them. And that's what we are talking about today. To say, is that not unfair? These lawmakers have been sacked. What's their fate? They can't appeal again. This is quite novel in what we are seeing. And of course, the NNPP matter as well. The Supreme Court, in Kano State, set aside the previous judgment of the other lower court to say Abba Yusuf is the governor of Kano State, and that's what we are looking into this morning. And very shortly we'll be joined by Leonard Seek, to make sense of what is happening, because the judiciary is an essential part. And in fact, the people, it's widely known here that the court is the last hope of the common man. Evelyn.
Yes, and for that Friday, all the state governors that sitting state governors actually retained their seats. There were predictions that the Kano state governor is going to be sacked. There were predictions that the Plateau state governor is going to be sacked. And also, there were some for Zamfara also, that it's not likely that Governor Dauda Lawal also will lose a seat. But it was, it was shocking, amazingly, that all the governors, all the state governors actually retained their seats, from Zamfara to Lagos to Ebonyi to, to Plateau, to Kano, all the state governors retained their seats. Yeah. And talking about the peculiarity of the Kano and the Plateau state, and also I think we should also add the Zamfara state, because that also was debatable in some way. The way we have the appeals court and the Supreme Court judgment conflicting is one that needs to be studied, because it's actually a deep dent, is a big dent rather, on our judiciary. That's right. A lot of people have been casting aspersion to the judiciary, saying they are not doing what they need to do, they are not upholding the rule of law. They're saying that the executive is controlling the judiciary. And this past judgment on Friday actually, in a way, give credence to that fact, because we had the Supreme Court justices calling the judgment of the appeal court perverse, saying it is a total miscarriage of justice. So if the court that is supposed to be the last hope of the common man is, perverse, using the word right now of our Supreme Court justices, then where is really the hope? Where is really the hope? I mean, look at the case of the Plateau State lawmakers. They were robbed in daylight as it is, because the Supreme Court already said the appeal court's judgment was perverse. It was wrong. The
grounds on which they were sacked is wrong. But sadly, they don't have that right to still appeal further. And that is the matter. So Governor Mutfwang escaped, if I may use that word, you know, because of what Milot did at the Supreme Court to say, why do these? And that caused a question, same thing you were saying, to say, these justices, these judges that have adjudicated upon these cases at tribunal and appeal court, don't they know these? Because it's not a novel case. It's even the Supreme Court, we have plethora
rulings
of
from
precedents.
the Supreme Court, from the apex court that can actually be, you know, pointed to. You know, they can actually point to those cases and say, okay, upon this case, upon the premises of these rulings, we give this particular judgment. We wonder why there was a complete departure from what the apex court has already ruled on, and these same cases were brought to the appeals court, and there was a complete departure from
what we already have examples of. Now, the Supreme Court is a court of policy, it's a court of precedents. The words of the Supreme Court, they are laws. In as much that government, I mean, those judgments are being given, they become a precedence that guides. So that's why you have people point to one case or the other and say, in the case of A versus B, as judged upon by the Supreme Court, and they give examples. We have many of them, and to say, so why was there a departure, using your word now, from the obvious? And the Supreme Court came to the rescue of Caleb Mutfwang, but then the appeal court has already sacked the lawmakers in Plateau State to say the primaries that produced you wasn't well done, but these are pre-election matters. Pre-election matters. And the APC candidate that went to court in the case of Governor Mutfwang is a member, just like I said, a member of the APC. So you don't have a right to file a case in another party. You'll be deemed as a meddlesome interloper. So where did we get it wrong at this point? But many will say, even as people are casting aspersion on the judiciary, the same judiciary remedied the situation, saved the situation to say, you know what, guys, this cannot go on. It must stop here. This is our laws. But then what becomes of those judges as well? People are saying, shouldn't they be reprimanded or sanctioned? People are calling the NJC to do the needful.
Exactly. You know, a lot of senior lawyers are also asking for a review of that judgment. We do not know how possible that is, if there can be a review of that judgment.
Which other judgment?
The Plateau State's judgment for the lawmakers that were sacked. Meanwhile, we had 16 lawmakers sacked from the State House of Assembly that actually gave, you know, PDP was in charge of that assembly before the sack, and after the sack of those 16 lawmakers, it returned to an APC-dominated house, and also we had the national lawmakers, you know, 7 of them that were sacked by the appellate court, and one beneficiary is the former Minister of Labour, Simon Lalong, who is now a senator. You know, he actually benefited from those judgments by the appeals court. So some senior lawyers are asking for a review of those judgments because this is daylight robbery. They were not. This judgment was a total miscarriage of justice, and as some called it, it's judicial recklessness. And we hope that the same judiciary can be able to review this judgment and you know, give the people that were duly elected by the electorate the mandate so that they can get back to work. But we do not know how possible that is.
Yeah, that's it. And the news has it that all of those guys have been saying we are going to retrieve our mandate. How they will is what we don't know. Maybe through a judicial review, because that will be a new one to say, okay, you guys, by our laws, your case or cases terminates at the appeal court, and that has been done with. So what becomes of them as well? You know, the words of former governor of Plateau State, the same Plateau State, Jonah Jang, he called it a miscarriage of justice of great proportion. That's what Jonah Jang said. You know, who was the former governor of Plateau, and of course, he has once represented the people of Plateau North in the Senate before, and said the people have been robbed the mandate, the rightful representation, you know, of them by their candidate as well, and that people that they never voted for are the ones that will not be representing them. So what becomes of them? Will they have the trust of those people? Will the people that have voted for the sacked lawmaker in a particular constituency now, another person that's been thrown in by the judgment of the appeal court now, how will he go to the people and say, I am your representative right now?
Because
and the people will not look at him and say, we didn't vote for you.
Basically, that's actually a threat to democracy. What is democracy? Government by the people, for the people, you know, of the people.
And by the people,
You know, the people are supposed to be the ones to elect their representatives.
That's right.
If by the virtue of maybe something was not done right, the court decides to sack these representatives and impose, in quote, the first runner up on these people, you want to wonder how democratic really is it. Some people have said for things like that, probably you know, an election, a new election, a rerun should be conducted so that the people can go back to the polls and pick who they truly want.
But then who pays for these elections? The elections are not cheap, by the way. They are not, especially in a Nigeria context, quite expensive. And if that happens, like what we have now in Plateau State, if by any chance, which I don't know how now, you know, my law is the one I know from government, by the way, as a subject. So do you mean whenever the court sacks an elected person of the people for any reason, we must have elections done again and again, 774 local governments?
Those are options.
109 senatorial districts, and of course, you know, the Federal House of Representatives as well, and about the executive positions as well, governors and president. This is not looking good for our democracy. Government of the people, by the people, and for the people. Now, is that the case of what we have now in Plateau State? You know, it's quite a difficult one. We'll try to connect with our guest this morning to make sense for us of what is really happening, especially the judiciary. Aspersions here and there is not good for anyone, because the role of the judiciary in any democracy is quite a very, very important one, that we can allow a very bad precedence to happen in this case. And just like I've said, that we don't really know the judges that give this judgment, what should happen to them, or we are just you know, we'll just let it lie low. We're told we are being joined by our guest this morning. Good morning.
Good morning, sir.
All right, good to have you. Mr. Mutalubi Ojo Adebayo is a senior advocate of Nigeria and, of course, a former Attorney General of Oyo State. Once again, good morning, sir. Thank you for joining us.
Thank you for having me, sir. Good morning.
All right, thank you. And straight, we'll dive right into it right now. The Supreme Court gave its verdict on all the pending cases before it, as far as the general election is concerned, especially the gubernatorial elections. A verdict was given, and one of those things that we saw last Friday was the verdict given in the case of the governor of Plateau State, Governor Caleb Mutfwang, who was endorsed and confirmed as the duly elected of Plateau State. But then it didn't just happen like that. There has been court verdicts that have sacked him at the tribunal level, at the appeal court level, before the Supreme Court came to his aid, on the heels that the primary that produced Governor Mutfwang and other candidates in the PDP was flawed and were not properly done. But then that sacked all the lawmakers, you know, in the PDP in Plateau State, and their case, as we know by the law, terminates at the appeal court. So they have been sacked and they're at home. They are not representing their people just for these reasons. And these same reasons is what the Supreme Court set aside on Friday to say that should not happen. Whatever happens in a party remains with that party, and another person outside the party doesn't even have the right to file for a case. Senior Advocate of Nigeria, can you please make a sense of what really happened and where we are right now, especially with that case?
Yes. Good morning.
Thank you, sir. Good morning.
Yes, good morning today. Let me first say that what happened last Friday at the Supreme Court, it's not new. There's nothing new in it, because we've had, this is not the first time a party will lose a case at the first court, at the Court of Appeal, and later that party will win at the Supreme Court. You remember the case of former Governor Wike and Peter side. Governor Wike lost at the first tribunal, lost at the Court of Appeal, and later won at the Supreme Court. So it has happened like that in several other cases, even in regular court. But you see, the reason why the Plateau State case is no fair is that, you know, with respect to our present legal jurisprudence of the letter petitions, appeals relating to State House of Assembly, National Assembly, all of them terminate at the Court of Appeal. And that's why Court of Appeal itself is the Supreme Court in deciding those cases. So, and in Plateau State, so I hope you can hear me.
Yes, please go ahead, sir.
And in Plateau State, some lawmakers, both at the state level and national level, have had the misfortune of being victims of getting judgment which have sealed their hope and they've been sacked on the same platform, on the same premise, just like that of Governor Mutual. But Governor Mutual was lucky in the sense that he had a third level of appeal. That is because his governorship of monetarial elected petition, he took it up to the Supreme Court, which opportunity the lawmakers, both at the state level and the national level, did not enjoy. And let me also say that I serve as counsel to two of those lawmakers at national level in the Plateau State Plateau State National Assembly election. House of Rep, in the case of Honorable Benila and Honorable Boko. And we love, the two court said, no, I'm so sorry, pardon me, please. Because of Abi, our lawmakers, we look at the first court and at the Court of Appeal. They sack our claim on the basis that the party that sponsored them, that's the PDP, did not conduct any primary and that they didn't have any structure. And also that they happened in disobedience of the court of the decision of a regular court of law. Now we told them all these issues which you are bringing up are what are issues related to pre-election matter, which elected president tribunal will not have power to entertain. But the court refused. They didn't agree with us. And that's it ended there. But I'm happy now that the Supreme Court has restated, because it's nothing new. If the law has always been there, that is has always there. The Supreme Court has said it in the plethora of election decisions that in the plethora of legal decisions that issue related to nominations and sponsorship of candidates are matter within the internal affairs of political parties, and that won't be the business of election person tribunal. So, Governor Mutual was lucky to get judgment at the Supreme Court. When justice was not available to those lawmakers, that's why they said the arguments were true.
All right.
Because their matter terminated at the Court of Appeal.
All right. Leonard's sake, isn't that unfortunate? Because you even called it misfortune. Those guys are...
What misfortune? Yes.
Yes, a misfortune as well. And good to know that you even said you represented two of those lawmakers, at least Honorable Benila, and, you know, that is just their case now. Many persons have said this is a travesty. Former governor of Plateau State, General Jan, called it a miscarriage of justice of great proportion. And so what are they left with? Is that their fate? Is there any way there should be a review?
Their fate is still forever. Because as far as their own matter is concerned, the Court of Appeal is the final court in their own case. They can't take it elsewhere. Yes, because of justice, but they have to live with it. Where would they go now? No court administration to review it. They can't get to Supreme Court, and it's not a matter you can litigate. Because the time has moved on. That's the end. And no, that's why I said it's nothing which has happened before. We all remember this case in the, it was in Texas again, where, no, I'm so sorry, in Anambra State, where some just of the Court of Appeal were led to have engaged in corrupt practices. They were led to have engaged in corrupt practices. And later, NJC investigated the matter, and it was found to be true. In fact, 2 of them were sacked. 2 of those judges were sacked. And later, Chief Justice said, if it has been found that the judgment they deliver is a product of corrupt practices, then he applied to court to have that judgment set aside. And they said, no, it's not possible. It is a fait accompli. It has been done. You can't bring it up again and refuse it. I'm referring to the case of one Justice Adeniji of the Court of Appeal then. And it happened when President Obasanjo was the president. It also, during this national democracy we are operating. So because matter relating to state assembly election, national assembly election, ended, terminated at the Court of Appeal, it can't go beyond. And well, and until we amend a concern that if you should allow it to get up to Supreme Court, yes, but for now, it has been decided.
Yeah, senior advocate, the judiciary, the court, has been regarded several times as the hope of the common man. But in this case now, it seems these people didn't get justice because it's obvious. The Supreme Court verdict has thrown up that. So many persons are asking, shouldn't there be a judicial review? And what becomes of those justices that have, you know, just allowed these people to be unfortunate? Shouldn't be something that should be done to them as a reprimand or something, or that's just it?
No, let me say this. We should realize that judges are human too. Judges are human beings. And judges are bound to make mistakes. Because they are mortal, just like you and me. But the mistake which judges are allowed to make to be a mistake of the head and not of the heart. It not be a deliberate mistake. But having said that, you realize that people Supreme Court also make mistakes. And that's why Justice also said, Supreme Court justices are also not infallible. They are only infallible because they are the final court. And perhaps who can say that if another case, another court, maybe a fourth court, after Supreme Court, where those who lost can take their appeal to, we saw the judgment cannot go another way. You get my point? So there must be an end to litigation. Court of Appeal decided that matter. They made mistake. The parties will leave that mistake. They have to live with that mistake. But some mistake should not be repeated in the future because Supreme Court has put a final stamp of authority on that principle of law now. It has been restated. And the court of appeal was castigated and condemned by the Supreme Court for making such which they call reckless mistake. So if another judge in future to follow the law of the Court of Appeal, then one will now know that that judge is committing or making a mistake of the heart and not out of the head.
All
right.
Which would be a deliberate mistake. But for the party that have lost in those cases, I sympathize with them, but for them to go to another court and file a case for review, To me, that will constitute an abuse of court process. And Evelyn can say, who dare to fight such cases for them to be sanctioned and penalized? Because we all know that appeal does not lie from the issue of the Court of Appeal in electoral matter related to the State Assembly and National Assembly to any other court. I like I told you, I asked for two of those National Assembly lawmakers in that matter. If my clients would come to me to file a review for him, I won't do it because I know that's not the law. That's not the law. That is a bunch of big mistakes. You are the woman.
Okay, senior advocate, there have been calls by senior lawyers and also senior advocates like yourself to actually ask for an extension of legislative litigation to all the way to the Supreme Court instead of it terminating at the appeals court. That is actually to stop any form of perverse judgment like we had in Plateau State from happening. Do you share in that view that legislative litigation should go all the way to Supreme Court?
I've had that point with me by some personal and some top juries. If you remember, the cases related to the gubernatorial election formerly used to terminate also at the Court of Appeal until there was a clamor that they should allow the appeal to go to the Supreme Court. And I need to look at it now. The Supreme Court has been bogged down with too many appeals that the court, as people as of now, they don't deal with any other matter other than these political cases. The election matter has been decided, they've done with that one. Now they are dealing with the gubernatorial election matter, almost from all the states where we had elections during the last general election. So if we now open the gates now to the State Assembly election matter, the National Assembly election matter, and now then to come to Supreme Court, believe me, we want to crumble and disorganize our Supreme Court. And it won't be good. It won't be good for the system. But what we should do is that the agency should get its act right and to start its seat of authority and let all judges going to elected president tribunal know that if you give judgment contrary to established principles of law to matters that have been settled, that it will be taken that you will be compromised and that such judgments are product of corrupt practices. And let them know. But now, you can't do that now because it's like you are sitting the goalpost after the match has ended and the final whistle has already go. But if they let them know that beforehand, and believe me, I believe they are going to sit tight and not judge will try to sacrifice his career for any motive whatsoever.
All right.
But for myself, as much as it's desirable, I don't agree that appeal related to State Assembly and National Assembly petitions should go to Supreme Court. Because believe me, that would be too chaotic. Supreme Court, I can bet it with you. Supreme Court won't have any other matter to do. And again, how many times do we have to Supreme Court? Now that we are going to even have 21 of them. They won't be, they can't get enough. So we can imagine now, like in our section now, we have 32 lawmakers. In some, maybe you have some 20 something. Then each state has 3 national senators and several. What are we talking about? We shouldn't allow that to happen. We don't allow that to happen.
All right, so let's talk about the unification of the Constitution, or should I say the unification of the interpretation of the Constitution. We've had differences in judgments, even though the facts are the same. You hear a judge at the tribunal give a particular judgment, the judge at the appeals court give another judgment, while the Supreme Court will overturn the judgment of the appeals court. Why do we usually have these differences? Is there no unification? Is there no direct interpretation of the law, especially when the facts remain the same?
That, that's why I said because the way we operate in law, there is what we call precedent or principle of study that decides it. Where Supreme Court has made definite pronouncement on any principle of law. No court except the Supreme Court can depart or give any decision contrary to that settled decisions of the Supreme Court. They are bound to follow it because in hierarchy of court, Supreme Court is at the apex of our judicature. And the Court of Appeal and the High Court was following. When I said where we have sought and where we have pronouncement of Supreme Court on matter like we said that has been settled, then it would be wrong for any courts that are lower or below the Supreme Court to give contrary opinions or contrary decisions to what the Supreme Court has settled or has laid down. So it's not about what we talking about. It's not like unification now. We are talking of following precedent. It's about we will follow the precedent. That's the order. That's the order. That's the way it is. You have to follow the precedent. Where facts are similar, and where the laws are, where you are examining or trying to interpret it, then you look at it as Supreme Court pronounced or decided on this matter before. It has decided. The lower court has bound to follow it. Who can say that? You cannot depart from it because that's what amount of judicial radicality. It has to be followed. Yeah. So it's not about unification. There's not like unification.
Senior advocate. Yeah.
Yes, I'm with you.
All right. One will say, going by what you have said so far, are there no precedences in the past that in these kind of cases that have been settled to say in
there are.
So
there are which is too elementary.
Now when these
so one now wonder why Court of Appeal gave judgment otherwise. There are. But I think what confused the Court of Appeal is that the primary electors of PDP in Plateau State, this was the primary election, have been litigated between members of that party in Plateau State, and the Court of Appeal held that your primary election was not rightly conducted because you didn't have structures. Or what party called the party executive from the world, local government, and up to the state level in go and put your house in order, go and conduct your congresses. And they were supposed to appeal, and they lost. That congress was not done. The ESCO was never put in place. But even at that, and because of appeal in those elected persons related to members of the National Assembly and State Assembly, said that in your state, your party acted or disobeyed, acted against and disobeyed lawful orders of court, which mandated to go and conduct your congresses and have structure in your state and union. But what are we talking about? It is not open to the APC, which is not APC members who challenge the victory of PDP lawmakers in those states because you are not members of PDP. And that is too clear. It's not open to them. So use that as a basis to start members of PDP who have been declared winners with respect to the state and National Assembly elections in that state. That's why we said it has to do with issue of nomination and sponsorship of candidates.
Yeah.
Which are election matter.
Yes.
And which are internal affairs of the PDP. So APC member cannot use it as a ground to nullify those victories.
All right. Senior advocate.
But the Court of Appeal saw it otherwise.
Now, let me quickly ask you, because you are pressed for time now, are you comfortable that the judiciary continue to have the last say on the choice of the people. Like, it's supposed to be the mandate of the people that has been given to their representatives. But when we continue to have these litigations, although it's part of the process of democracy, by the way, but the court seems to be having the final say. Where does that leave the choice of the people? Are you comfortable with what because it's becoming a pattern right now?
I should tell you straight away that there's no alternative judiciary. And the judiciary remains the last hope of the common man. Because alternative to resolving dispute by our court, then is anarchy or use of force and what we call mighty strike, and that is not allowed in any decent society. As inclusive.
Yeah, as an advocate.
So the court of law will always have final say. If a candidate or a person is declared as winner in an election, another party is not satisfied, where do you go? You have to go to court. To go to have the final say and resolve. The court will remain the arbiter to resolve those disputes. So any other will be anarchy. And that will be too cruel and indecent.
All right.
So believe, and let me say this: we must give kudos to the judiciary, because judiciary has been the main stabilizing factor in this democracy of ours. Politics in this country has been too dirty and has been too rough. If not for our judiciary, which has always been trying to wheel politicians into line, this democracy will crumble. We were flossing. So we must give credit at all times to the judiciary.
All right. As an advocate, that would mean that the judiciary is taking the status of the almighty in our democracy. And many persons will say, so why go through the rigors of coming out to vote if actually the people are not too sure that it is their mandate that they've given to their representative that counts? I understand that the court process, litigations are part of the democratic process as well. But shouldn't we get to a time in which it is the will of the people that we really count? How do we get to this point so that the judiciary, in as much you want to give them the kudos, doesn't assume that almighty position in our democratic process?
So mandates are not genuine, they are not real. So mandates were stolen. So, and if I feel my mandate, that I've been wrong for my mandate, where do I go to resort to court to seek justice? And if it is found, and it is set before the court, that the so-called mandate has been procured by public means, and it is not real, then the judiciary has to, then the court has to go. It has to be start that lawmaker or elected, the elected party has to be start by the court. If it's established by credible evidence before the court, it has to go. So that's why I said it remains that judiciary is still the last hope of the common man. There is no alternative to it. The result of the alternative will be anarchy.
All right.
And then if you are now saying we should leave judiciary out of electoral dispute, I will not encourage people to take laws to their hands. Then if I do law, might mobilize people as result to mob action, then you should go and attack the other party. Things are never done like that in any decent society.
Okay, senior advocate. Please allow me to just button because we are pressed for time, sir. Are you still with us?
Yes, I'm with you.
Yeah, I'd like us to quickly go over to the issue in Kano State. Governor Abba Yusuf was actually declared winner of the election that happened last year, March 18. He was declared the duly elected governor of Kano State. Two issues that made its way to the court was the issue of party membership and also the ballot that was not well stamped, that was not stamped and signed, duly signed, about over 160,000 ballot papers. Yeah. Now, the Supreme Court has held that these ballot papers that were not duly signed and stamped are valid. Does this set a precedent? Do we consider this precedent to further litigations where ballot papers are not signed, they are not stamped, but they are considered valid?
On this one, those ballot papers that they said were not signed and are not stamped, let me confess that I have not seen the pleading that was settled in the Kano version related to the issue of those ballot papers. Okay. And also, let me also say that apart from those pleadings, but the Supreme Court established also that I did not know the evidence that were left with respect to those issues of ballot, those ballot papers. But the Supreme Court found out that the ballot papers that were not signed and stamped, that they were 1,800. Just 1,800 are not the amount which the Fourth Tribunal and the Court of Appeal stated them to be.
All right.
Which were adopted by those courts from the vote of both parties, and from which they declared the candidate of the APC winner. The court said they were limited to 1,800. 800. You get my point?
Yes.
So, in essence, this is what is saying that if truly ballot papers were not signed and stamped, they will not be counted in declaring any party as winner of any election. But in the Kano case, the number, the quantity, were not up to what it was said to be by the lower court. What was the reason that was what they decided.
All right. Before we go, there are new Supreme Court justices that will be coming on board now. Are we expecting an expeditious action on court cases at the apex level?
Yes, I am. Because now we are going to have full complement of the number of justices of the Supreme Court, and that will assist in expeditious hearing of appeals pending before the Supreme Court. Because now we are going to have 21, as opposed to the limited and inadequate number of justices we had before.
All right.
It's a welcome development.
Thank you very much, Mutalubi Ojo Adebayo, Senior Advocate of Nigeria and former Attorney General of Oyo State. Want to sincerely thank you for joining us this morning.
Thank you.
We appreciate it. And of course, that his opinion, his view, and a learned silk as well. Mr. Ojo Mutalubi Adebayo, who has said, you know what, it's unfortunate. Excuse me, it's fortunate on the part of the SAC lawmakers, and going for a judicial review, he is still advising that. But being that as it may, that's their fate. But many persons should say, should anybody suffer for an injustice and it appears like you are helpless?
Yes, because it's not one, it's not two. Over 20 lawmakers were affected in Plateau State. I mean, the same water that drowned these lawmakers made Governor Caleb Mutfwang's float. And for some reason, the
Supreme Court threw in a life jacket.
Exactly. They are definitely going to feel pained.
Of course.
They are going to feel, cheated. They are going to feel robbed. Like he said, it's just a misfortune. And we hope that this doesn't repeat itself, because lives and destinies of people are hinged on these rulings by the court.
Yeah, that's right. And that's where we wrap it up on Morning Spring today, the first one for the week. Please make sure you do whatever you have to do today within the confines of that law, so that nobody will suffer for you dropping the ball at any time. Femi Ojo is my name. Please do well to follow us on our social media platforms, on X, on Facebook, and on Instagram at Western Spring Television. Also on YouTube. You can have a recap of this program on our YouTube channel at Western Spring Television. Western Spring Television is on channel 190 DTT on Star Times. Femi Ojo is my name. God bless Nigeria. Evelyn.
Yes, and I am Evelyn Ohiolei. We go to return for Spring Trends. Do not go anywhere. We've got juicy stories on the trends for you. My name is Evelyn Ohiolei. Have yourself a good